Welcome to the original American Warrior Radio Show. I'm your host, Garren, an Air Force veteran, retired legal advocate for veterans, founder of AVET Project, a VA accredited claims agent, and founder of AVET Appeals. If you or someone you know ever wore the uniform of the United States Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, National Guard or Reserves, or the Space Force, you've come to the right place. American Warrior Radio Show always efforts to bring you great information about VA benefits, news, notes, interviews, and current events for all issues, military and veteran related. Our background music here on American Warrior Radio Show is graciously provided by none other than Stephen Hobbs, combat vet and very talented mill hop artist. Let's get right into the heart of the matter. Hi, everybody. Garren with American Warrior Radio Show. And again, we've got another fine guest to bring you good information that you can use and share with others. I know you hear me say that a whole time, but we're an all-volunteer, nobody's getting a paycheck, nonprofit. This is about helping others. That's about helping our military family, whether they're past or present. We want to get them the information they need. And our guest today brings it every time. She's a past supporter of the first Celebrate Female Veterans event, which was a wild success at the Brevard Zoo Nami Nami Room. And I'm sure she'll be involved and continue to be involved. But we're happy to have you today here, Elizabeth. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing great. Honestly, I'm just thrilled because this is a benefit that we're going to talk about that every honorable, if you have honorable paper, if you've got a DD-214 that shows anything other than a big chicken dinner, bad conduct discharge, you're likely going to be eligible for the VA home loan. Mm-hmm. Before we get into that, tell our listeners, our viewers, a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Elizabeth Cassidy. I am a mortgage broker with Future Home Loans. We are based out of Florida. I personally am in Space Coast, Brevard County. I'm an Air Force veteran. My husband is still serving in the Air Force. And I'm a mom of four who's decided to put my passion into protecting veterans when they're using their home benefit to make sure that they're not being taken advantage of.
And I loved the share you had at the celebration because I looked around the room and people were intent. They were listening to every word that came out of your mouth. And you mentioned just a moment ago, you're an Air Force veteran. What was your job? What was your AFSC?
I was services. I was the mama, is what people say. So I cooked for everyone. I made sure people had places to sleep. I was services. So that's primarily what I did, and it was wonderful.
Again, it was about helping others, isn't it? I mean, that was
absolutely. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
So you separate service, and your husband's still in. You mentioned, but now you have this home loan special information. Tell us a little bit about, because there's a whole lot of folks, both active duty and veterans, that still are not engaging this benefit. And it's a powerful benefit.
Yes. So the VA home loan is truly a benefit that our veterans and our active duty service members, if they've been active duty for so long, have earned. It's a way for them to be able to afford a home without any money out of their pocket in terms of a down payment. Obviously, there are still things like closing costs, and those are negotiable between both parties when you're in a transaction. But every other loan type, unless you go into some kind of program that it makes you pay that money back, every other loan type is going to require a down payment. On the VA loan, you truly don't have to come out of pocket anything. I finance veterans every single day that finance 100% of that home sales price. It's something that I can't even stop talking about how great it is for veterans. It has the lowest default rate of all of our loans, and that's statistic wise from the feds, that it's the lowest one that defaults. It has great benefits for all of the veterans that go ahead and want to purchase it. They don't have anything bad to say about it in forms of how they can use it. It closes fast.
Yeah,
it's really affordable.
Simple too. You get the COE. Explain that a little bit.
So your COE is a document. It basically tells the lender what you're eligible for. So it tells us that you have entitlement left over, or that you have full entitlement, meaning you can go buy a house as high as you want, really, and what you can qualify for. Or it tells us how much you can buy if you've already used your VA benefit and you have a current outstanding home. You are able to have more than one at a time. I've been in positions in my life where I've had more than one VA home loan out at a time. My husband, same thing. So you are able to do it more than one time if you so choose. Most people think that you only can use it one time in your entire life and then you're done. That's not the case. You can use it over and over and over and over again. We just have to put parameters in place if you're going to have, let's say 2-3 houses at one time that you're going to own.
But that COE, what does that stand for?
Certificate of Eligibility. So it's something
that comes from the VA, and it's easy to order online, isn't it?
Yes. If you have access to your e-benefits account, you can get on there and get it. If you call the VA and you just do like an over-the-phone application with them on getting it, they'll normally email it to you within 24 hours. If you reach out to a lender and get an application done for a mortgage, we have a platform where we can go in and we can get it for you, and it takes us all of 10 minutes. So it's a really, really easy document. Anytime I get it for a veteran, I just give them a copy of it so they have it in case they don't buy a house or in case they decide to buy another one in 10 years from now. Just because it's a good piece of paper to have. Same with your DD-214. You just want to keep those close.
And that's something we remark about often. People out there in American Warrior Radio land, whether if you're the spouse, if you're the veteran, if you're active duty, keep a file for all things VA. A lot of folks get stuff from the VA and they think, or it might appear negative and they throw it in the trash. Keep a copy of everything. And Elizabeth is telling you, your DD-214, obviously, well, the COE as well. Put it in that file. Keep everything together because you never know when you might need it. You mentioned dual eligibility. So when COE comes in, even if you're a current homeowner, there could be eligibility available still, right?
Yes. So the rule used to be that you could only use X amount of dollars. And with the economy changing every single year, every year, the government decides to vote on those things and increase the amount that you're allowed to use if you've already had a VA home that you currently own. Now, that doesn't apply if you bought a house, let's say 10 years ago, you paid on it for a couple of years, then you sold it and moved. Now you're able to buy as much as you can qualify for with your debt to income ratio. But if you have one that you don't want to get rid of, you still want to keep it as a VA loan, but you want to move into a new house, whether you're moving jobs or you just decided you want a bigger house or a smaller house or just a different location, you can still keep that first house and let someone rent it from you. You don't have to refinance the mortgage, but your new house going forward, they put some parameters on how much you can purchase on that second home, but it is very much possible to have more than one at a time. I see it happen every day.
And I'm curious about if somebody is selling a home to another veteran, that can make a wash of your eligibility points, right?
No. So if you're selling your home to another veteran, the day that you sell that house, your entitlement is what we call restored. When we show that loan has been paid in full, then it restores it. You don't have to keep your entitlement attached to that home if another veteran is coming in to purchase it. Now, that veteran would then use their certificate of eligibility and they would put their entitlement on that property.
Wonderful. And what about, because I know you get involved with a whole lot of different real estate issues. What about investment property? How might that play into your eligibility with the VA home loan?
So you can't use the VA loan to buy investment properties right out the gate. What most veterans do, if they want to maybe dabble in the world of owning rental homes or maybe, being a landlord and having one, is they'll purchase the property and they'll live in it as their primary residence at the time of taking ownership. But let's say a year or two goes by and they want to change and, go buy a bigger house, smaller house, move locations. That's when they can turn that first home into an investment property, but they don't have to touch the mortgage. So you still have no mortgage insurance on the house. You still have a really, really low interest rate because VA loans always have the lowest interest rate out of any loan product out there. You still have all of the perks of it being at one point your primary residence, but you don't have to live in there for forever. The caveat to that is part of your entitlement is going to stay on that home. Even though you now have a renter that's living in there, you still used it at some point to take ownership of that property. So moving forward, you're not going to be able to go buy another house, sky's the limit, but you still can use that money and that entitlement to go buy a second home to move into. And now you've created some cash flow because you now have your first investment property and you didn't have to go the traditional investment route. You didn't have to do the 20% down. You didn't have to meet some of the higher credit score requirements. You didn't have to take the higher interest rates. It's a loose word, as they call it, house hacking. As long as you're ethical about it and you truly do treat that house as your primary residence when you first own it and live in it, which most veterans do. They'll stay in that home for, 1, 2, 3, 4 years. The VA doesn't have really a rule on it, so long as there's a reason why you're purchasing the next property, if it's in such a tight timeline. But you're able to keep that house as a VA loan and then go move forward into something else. They do not have an issue with that whatsoever.
Well, and for all the AWR listeners and viewers out there, listen to what this woman is telling you about, because it's expert advice like hers that can get you far ahead, especially with all the television shows about flipping houses. A lot of people might think, hey, I could get into that, but I got this VA home loan. It's not impossible. It just needs to be carefully crafted. And as you said, you need to be upfront and honest. You can't be trying to pull the wool over the VA's eyes.
The VA will find out. They have ways. They will go and check. They'll knock on your door. They'll check where your mail is. They'll refer to your tax records to see what address you have on there for your tax returns. They'll know if you didn't purchase it as a true primary residence. And there are ramifications that unfortunately I've seen happen. Veterans have lost their benefits, but that's, as long as we're ethical and honest about it, we can certainly do that.
Yes, ethical. We don't want to embellish or lie, but be ethical and stretch it to the limit. Take full advantage. Now, Elizabeth, you're also expert at debunking some myths. Can you bring up a couple of those issues for our audience?
I got the privilege of doing this earlier today with a group of real estate agents. One of the biggest ones is it takes so long to close on a VA home loan. I just had a file last week where from the day we started the contract, the day that the veteran went under contract until they were clear to close was 8 calendar days.
Whoa, 8 days.
Yes. They do not take longer than anything. In my experience, they're the fastest. And it's because the VA has a very strict timeline that they put in place for how long those appraisers are allowed to take to get the appraisal report. They give them enough time to get the job done and get it done well, but they can't, take 3, 4, 5 weeks to give us an appraisal report. They have to get it back to us within typically 10 days. So yeah, getting a VA loan to the closing table in less than 2 weeks happens every single day in the world of VA if you have the right lender.
See, the right lender, the right person in charge of making this deal happen. Now, the motivation for those that might be saying, oh, they're too hard, they take too long, we're not even clear on what that is, because I've heard it, and I'm not even in that field, but I've experienced people saying things about that, and the VA in general. So that is one myth that we can debunk. Is there something else, kind of a high point that you can make for people that are tuning in to get, maybe they've heard some horror stories about VA? What else can you offer?
Another one that I hear all the time is that they always appraise low. I do close to 100 VA loans a year. I rarely see VA loans that are appraising for lower than what the contract price is. And the reason being is because the VA lets us have a conversation with the appraiser about the value of the home twice. So there's 2 different points during the appraisal process where I can combat and argue in a respectful way and say, hey, look, the value is this, and this is my evidence, and this is why you need to give us the value. There's not a type that lets you do that. It's a one and done, in and out the door. And what those other appraisers say, that's what's going to stick on the home, unless you can find an error, if you would, to figure out why it's not working that same, that value is not coming the way that you thought it was going to be. But for the most part, I don't see them taking longer at all or coming in under value ever.
Well, we're speaking with Elizabeth Cassidy. She is an expert. She's an Air Force vet, so she understands military and veteran affairs. Her mortgage broker. This is the kind of person you want to connect with. And I know John, our wonderful producer, is going to have a tag for you so you can contact. But just for our sake right here, how can people get in touch with you, Elizabeth?
So my direct cell phone is the way that everyone gets a hold of me. So you can always reach out to me on my cell phone at 321-292-1022. You can reach out to my website, enlistelizabeth.com. That's another way that a lot of people get in touch with me. And then I'm sure he'll have my email tagged below. That one's a little bit lengthier to say, but there's ways to get a hold of me. If you can't find me, reach out to the show. Kim knows how to get in touch with me.
Yes, she does. And this is just, again, people, it's about bringing you good information that you can use and share with others. And there's probably few investments ever in a person's life that are as important as home ownership. And you're a gal that can make that happen, help them navigate these waters and debunk these myths and get the job done. And for that, I really appreciate it. And I appreciate your service too, and your husband's continuing service. That's pretty special. And I want to celebrate you because you were also a sponsor of the Female Veterans Celebration. First ever.
That was amazing. Yes.
Yeah, as I said, people were hanging on every word. So there's a thirst for the knowledge that you possess and trying to overcome some of this stuff, because I believe VA home loans is underutilized. Just like a lot of vets out there aren't getting the compensation they have earned. Guess what? A lot of them aren't engaging the VA home loan process. They see FHA or some other system. People, this is zero down, not that 20%. And you're talking a $300,000 home. 20% is a lot for somebody to come up with just to start the process.
Yeah, no, it's truly no money down. It doesn't mean that you have to go that route. I help veterans every single day that are like, you know what, we have some equity, we have some savings, we want to do a down payment. No one's ever going to bat an eye at that or shy away from that or say you can't do it. But it's the true benefit. It really helps people with the affordability into stepping into home ownership and building equity, and then using, oftentimes active duty members with their BAH, their housing allowance, they find something that's affordable and they didn't have to, drain their life savings to start to get into it. And then they get to, they get the opportunity to make a little bit of money when it comes time to sell and move and then do it all over again at their next place.
And you can help them then also.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
We've been blessed to have Elizabeth Cassidy, mortgage broker, share with you some wonderful knowledge. You're going to see the link on how to contact her, and she already gave you her cell phone. People, I encourage you to do this, whether you're here. And what's the scope of your practice? Just in Florida, or can you help people in Wyoming or Nevada?
So not every state in the country. I can lend in most of the Southeast states, as far west as Texas. So pretty much anything in between that: Tennessee, Alabama, the Carolinas, Georgia, Virginia, a lot of the Southeast region. Yeah. I have colleagues that are specialists in the VA loan in every state. I serve on the Veterans Committee with the Association of Independent Mortgage Experts with a lot of them. So if it's a state that I don't have a license in, I can connect you with someone that I would trust with my own mortgage in that state if I were to be moving there. So absolutely, we can get you connected with someone great.
That means a lot. And I hope everybody out there is going to share this information. Elizabeth, thank you for taking time to share with us and our audience.
Thank you.
God bless you and keep up the good work for sure.
God bless you guys too. Thanks for doing this.
And everybody, we've got to cut it. But listen, as always, suicide, because suicide month is here, month of September. Permanent solution, temporary problem. It will pass. God will find a way to keep you through the next day. And with that, I'm going to also say, don't forget, thank AVET.
Hi everyone, it's Garren Cohn with American Warrior Radio. I'm here with my good friend Christian. We're here to deliver a very important message about a crisis in our land.
Suicide prevention, more specifically, veteran suicide prevention.
22 a day are taking their own lives. This must stop. This can't continue. If you or someone you know is contemplating suicide, please know that God has tomorrow planned for you. Don't take your own life. And just remember, suicide is a permanent solution
to a temporary problem.